Yeah, and actually, just to tie in with something you mentioned earlier about the provinces losing power because of the charter, this was one of the reasons why the provincial premiers were so opposed to the charter and why the notwithstanding clause was included. Because I mean, that was the only way. Like Trudeau did not want did not want a notwithstanding clause, and the premiers didn't want a charter. So it was the compromise deal. The Trudeau would get his charter, and the provinces would get the notwithstanding clause. And I know people think the notwithstanding clause it's looked at negatively if it's as if it's overthrowing our charter rights. But the notwithstanding clause is actually part of the charter. It's not in opposition to the charter, it's part of the charter. And it was brought in because the premiers were afraid of the Supreme Court making decisions that were so radical and there was no turning back. And actually, Peter Lougheed, who had been premier at that time, he gave an address which was later published as an article about 1991 at the University of Alberta. He talked about why it was so important. And one of the examples he gave was actually the Roe v. Wade decision in the United States. Before 1973, the abortion issue in the United States was determined by the states. There were some states that were pro-abortion and they could have pro-abortion laws, and there were some states that were anti-abortion and they could have anti-abortion laws. So it was up to the people. It was up to the state, which if the people of the state wanted the laws or not. It was up to the people. The 1973 Roe v. Wade decision made it a mandated law for the entire United States that they would have abortion on demand. And so there was no compromise there. That's the thing.
Trudeau knew when he did this, he would hand the power over to the courts to make political decisions. Like, this seems to me to have been deliberately to take away the controversy and to implement these kind of Marxist ideologies, which you've seen Canada just, since 1982. And you touch on that quite a bit here in the book, because if you do remove one moral standard, it has to be replaced by something else. So how do we kind of take that back? Because I firmly believe my rights don't come from government. My rights come from God. The government's job was to protect those rights, not violate them, not determine what they were, not to, interpret them to their liking. So how do we reverse this trend? How do we take back what is what is already ours?
Actually, just